All right. Fights, brawls, injuries, intrigue, all kinds of stuff can be found at a Miami Dolphins Bears practice, and none other than David Furones is there with our Welt Rheaume Miami Dolphins report. Damn, dude. I mean, they jam-packed a lot of shit in just one practice there. You had fighting teammates, you had fights, you had injuries, you had a lot of the stuff that's been happening in the past. You kind of didn't feel out of place today, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, this follows the Dolphins anywhere. Now, where I did feel out of place was I did see Tua throwing these 3 interceptions, and that was something we hadn't been seeing in training camp. You only had the one to Minka Fitzpatrick through team drills that the Dolphins had done internally. So both safeties for the Bears, Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, as well as the linebacker in red zone, Tremaine Edmonds, picking them off in these drills. So that hurts. If you're a Dolphins fan watching this and seeing this happen in the first work against an opponent. Tua, of course, has said don't put too much stock in the results. So even when he was going good, he's talking about how they're practicing based off the system and the operation, not so much the practice results. But those practice results were not in his favor at this joint session. Offense was sloppy overall, with Alexander Madison also fumbling a couple times, and another one seemed like a botched exchange between him and Zach Wilson. And of course, the fights where even internally, Jordan Brooks on the sideline was seen fighting with the teammate.
Let's break shit down in an order here. First of all, let's
Okay.
get back to the interceptions. First of
all right. Stick on that.
He faces a group that can't play football all day long. That's why nobody. You just mentioned two guys, Tremaine Edwards and Kevin Byard. Those are two bad mother effers in this league that have
Brisker
played.
Too.
Yeah. So these are guys that can play. So I'm not surprised that he's going to throw some interceptions to guys that can play. And the only guy that's had an interception for the Dolphins is the only guy that can play in Minka Fitzpatrick. There's kind of a common denominator going on there, overall. Plus, 2 of the interceptions, if I understand correctly, out of the 3, you can tell me who the third one was for, but one of the passes was intended for Chris Myrick, and the other one was for Tarek Black. Which one is it, Tarek Blank or Black?
Black. Yep.
Black. Okay, these are 2 players that, they're not even going to be on the roster. You know what I'm saying? Who was the third one intended for?
I didn't see the intended receiver on that one beyond where it ultimately got to. So
the players covering those people are so superior. You were already taking your chances making that pass, but it is what it is. I just find it funny that he doesn't throw interceptions, and I don't even credit Tua for it. I credit the fact that they have no secondary back there. So how did that secondary perform today?
Yeah, it started off really rough in the secondary. You start with one-on-ones, and it was just one after the other. Each one of the cornerbacks had started storm duck to Kendall Sheffield, and it just went down the list, and they were all giving up big plays in the one-on-ones. So eventually they settled in a little bit. You had Ethan Bonner with a pass breakup, Jack Jones with one, Cornell Armstrong with one. Oh, Mike Hilton and not Jack Jones in the one-on-ones had these breakups. But it got to a point where you saw the first 5 were all completions and big plays. Then, even if there was an incompletion, there was an official watching it and throwing a flag. So then they were called for PI when it wasn't. One of the Bears quarterbacks throwing to these receivers. So it looked sloppy at first, but they settled in once it got to team drills, which is ultimately what's going to matter. Also, the one-on-ones, these receivers have the whole field, so it is an advantage for the receivers. But once he got to the team drills, the front was flushing Caleb Williams out of the pocket, and backup units as well getting there, and the secondary held up more, even in 7-on-7, where there is no pass rush. Then you saw Caleb Williams was holding onto the ball, running out himself when there's no one rushing him. So you could tell those were sort of a strong coverage points. So I do like the way they rebounded over time. the one-on-ones, it was rough to start off. You were watching it like, oh boy, this is everything we were expecting, but they did rebound, so credit to them on that.
Did Miami dominate on the one-on-ones themselves?
No. One-on-ones was a rough go. I mean, the Bears won the joint practice overall. I'll tell you that. So especially when you consider, obviously, the Bears' defense against Dolphins' offense with Tua throwing 3 interceptions. Of course, Tyreek Hill, he wasn't practicing with an oblique injury, as we learned today. So a little bit of a limited group. Also didn't have Austin Jackson out there, but still, I mean, Bears defense really beat the Dolphins offense, and then a little bit of a standstill, but Dolphins defense overall won against the Bears offense, where Caleb Williams, of course, over here, the narrative is he's still getting into this new offense, and Ben Johnson is still incorporating him into his offense, and he's still figuring that out. But team drills, then Dolphins defense really won that battle.
Yeah, they should, because they're not playing a good quarterback. So that should be a place where they should be able to have, some success. Before I leave the secondary of the Dolphins, we had injuries again, right? What do we know? What is it? Jack Jones got injured in the secondary. Who else ended up getting injured?
Yeah, we did see Jack Jones. It looked scary at first because he was defending an out at the goal line, got his feet tangled up with a Bears receiver, and he was called for interference on the play as they both went down to the ground. But as he's trying to get up, then all of a sudden he sort of freezes up, and he's got a teammate holding him up, and he doesn't want to move. He's afraid to move. It seems like as he stood up, and then they ultimately they lift him up to get him off the field. So didn't want to put any pressure on him, and then put him on a cart. Now later we keep an eye on him, and we do see that he started smiling or something. So we're maybe hopeful for that it's cramps, and they got him right after that. But it seemed like he avoided the worst when you saw a smile on his face from a distance, and even though he was carted off, but so possibly avoided the worst there. Jonas Avainaya did leave practice early, not sure what happened, but just at one point in team drills, then no longer saw him over there with the first team offensive line. So that's a little bit of a concern. We'll need to find out more.
My boy Keon Smith was filling in for Jonas Savaiinaea, right?
Yeah, so Keon getting elevated work. So there, it's couldn't get a close eye exactly on how he was looking. I was watching more of the defense because we got multiple fields going, and us guys here, we split up work and eyes on each side. So, that'll now be an opportunity for him to step up the same way. This is an opportunity as much as you don't want to hear, as much as Bears people here don't want to hear it. After they had him for the last 4 years, Larry Borum at right tackle, who James Daniels said held up all right from working next to him.
Let me get to the offensive line in a minute. Let me stay with the secondary and receivers, and let me stay in that area. Let me go to the other side of it. We talked about the Dolphins secondary, and then I asked you, well, how did the offense do in the one-on-ones? And you said not very good either against their secondary. So the key is, outside of Waddle, who I don't worry about. I know he got a little banged up and got leveled by Tyreek Stevenson. I think he's all right.
Yes.
That's good. But, if Waddle or Tyreek go down, somebody's got to step up. So talk to me about Icon or Malik or whoever, Taj Washington. Talk to me about what receivers actually caught your eye outside of Waddle, because if they were getting handled, you tell me.
Yeah, that's a big question mark. Is that third receiver for this receiving core? And I don't think anyone's really stepping up. You got some. You see, you got your favorites in the clubhouse from the start, where Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, you would think he's just got that job if he does what he's supposed to do. Based off the season he had with Tennessee last year, all of his touchdowns, and he'd be a red zone threat, which the Dolphins need with Johnny Smith gone. But he hasn't made plays in camp. Not that that's the end-all, be-all, and obviously it's going to matter once the regular season starts, but he's sort of leaving it open by not stepping up and making plays. Malik Washington had a lot of expectations for him, and then went a lot of practices. I mean, almost the first 2 weeks where barely saw him make a play, but then he went and had a deep catch at one of the recent practices. The next day, he got the orange jersey. I think it was a Tuesday practice. By the Wednesday practice, he had the orange jersey. So you start to see him pick it up. And then you got guys that you expect to be a little bit lower, but who have made some plays and are sort of coming up on the heels of those others. So like a Todd Washington, who we've seen make several plays. D. Eskridge has had an impressive camp, and as a veteran now, he was former second round pick, guy with a lot of potential. Yeah, he's a guy who is trying to earn his way back onto the roster in the second year in the system.
He's a boxer too, right? He's a fighter also, D. Eskridge.
Right, he does that. Yeah. And he was just talking to us about. He was just talking to us about how the second year being in the system, because he was waived, picked up, practice squad, elevated, this and that, and now a second year for him is going to help him a lot along the way in this offense, which can get a little complex for a new receiver.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that was leading me to my follow-up question on the wide receivers. And this goes on for multiple people. Teron Armstead, you can go back and check it. He didn't understand the offense completely his first year. He didn't understand it until his second year. We're talking about Teron Armstead.
You're saying here, you're with the Dolphins.
Yes, here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Elite person, elite individual. He didn't really understand all the nuances of the offense until the second year in the system. Okay. Tyreek Hill he's talking about how Slowick is now explaining it to him and that he's now taking notes. So some of it has been his own doing, but he has gotten by also purely on talent and not really on IQ, because he doesn't understand the offense. Now he's telling you guys openly, hey, I kind of understand what we're doing now, right? He's talked about that. When I look at the Icon kid comes in, he's got to learn the offense in order to be successful. And you talk about Malik, and you can talk about others that, or D. Eskridge now in his second year in the system. That's another thing about this system. It is a complicated system. There is timing, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's the route running, whatever it is, or the quarterback, there's a timing to it. That's why you guys are kind of quietly writing that when it comes to anticipatory and some of those things, you guys are kind of seeing that the third quarterback is a little better than the second quarterback on those kind of things, right? Because he has a natural gift for that, whereas the second quarterback, the backup, he's thrown to places that he sees. He doesn't know how to anticipate. Those are things he's got to learn. He talked about it. So he's learning how to see through windows now in different levels, things he didn't ever have to do in any level he was at, even in the Jets. So that's my issue with Icon and others, that we have to kind of put a curve on all these people, because it's really hard for anybody, even a Teron Armstead, to come in and just grasp this system right away.
Yeah, you said it. There's so many motions, formations before that, motions, checks once you get to, which is so impressive on how Tua runs it so well. They always play the clip of him, blurting out this long ass play call to the media, and everyone's like, "Yeah, no, I can do it." And also, it's why when backup quarterbacks go in there, then there are faults in the operation and pre-snap penalties. So and now that even happens even when Tua's in there, and you got receivers that are in and out and not as accustomed to it. So which makes it all the more impressive how, because this happens for receivers, this happens for linemen, how Jonas Vainaya is doing so well when he's in there. Now we have to check what's going on with this injury, but when he's in there at left guard as a rookie, where a lot of Dolphins linemen have just marveled at how he's able to do it. And it's an extra level to it because of how complex this offense is.
Yeah, and that's where I think, we want the Icon kid to step in and immediately help. He might be a little slowed down because he's still thinking about what he has to do in the damn offense.
Yeah.
And it might be a problem for him, where Malik and D. Eskridge are a year ahead of him, and they may be able to kind of figure things out, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the Savanaya kid may be a freak. He might be that guy because Tua is freak. What people don't understand, his level of intelligence and comprehension and anticipatory skills and all that shit is next level for him. He's way ahead of most quarterbacks in the NFL in that. It's just a whole other part of his game, the whole physicality, size, and all that other stuff that people get hung up with. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the mental side, bro, he is next level in that. And that's where this offense becomes a real difficult challenge for all these guys. The tight end. Okay. First of all right, smart guy. You consider yourself smart, right?
I'm
Okay.
okay in that department, I think.
Well, okay. Well, then read through the bullshit and tell me. So Waller's 1 year removed from football. He comes back and he's been doing exercises like strongman competitions and all that shit. Just go to his IG, whatever that thing is called that he was at. He's in great shape. You can't even get this guy at the beginning of camp where you don't even have pads on. He was available to you. You couldn't even put him on the field. Yet, Chris Myrick is out of freaking football for 3 years. And he can come off the couch and he can be in the middle of a scrimmage, but Darren Waller can't because it's tricky. Please answer that bullshit that Mike McDaniel's selling out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think it shows you that Darren Waller has a preferred priority spot on this team for sure. As a former Pro Bowler, that they're trying to just protect and get in there because Chris Myrick, of course, if he's going to do anything, he's got to go right into it.
I get
And Waller, even though he hasn't practiced, they put him first team tight end on the depth chart too. He hasn't practiced once with this organization. So yeah, not even Julian Hill, who had all those starts last year. Farrell Brown is a veteran that's a good inline blocking tight end. Usually, it's going to be the blocking tight ends that are actually starting games. But Darren Waller, first on the depth chart, hasn't practiced once with this team.
how do you explain this? Like I'm not buying any of the bullshit that Mike McDaniel is selling out there, dude. I mean, give me a break. He easily could have taken part in practice a couple of weeks ago with no pads, and you could have worked him into the point of right now. I am not. I'm wondering if there's some issues that he is having himself, questioning whether he still really wants to play or something. I don't know because this is the weirdest thing. All right, so Julian Hill apparently is back to committing mistakes and all glorious today, right? Didn't he score a touchdown and then it was called back by his own penalty? I think that's kind of the way it went or something like that. So talk to me since
Saw him miss
Darren,
a block. I saw him miss a block too.
yeah,
Julian Hill. So
some things never change, baby. Some things never change. So what did you see from the tight ends today?
yeah, well, not well, my focus was on the defense. I was watching the DBs, so that's mainly where my eyes were.
All right, so what did
But
you hear from Chris on the tight end
yeah,
group?
yeah. Tight ends, right? Julian Hill. I did see because then this is once they have one field is Julian Hill did miss a block. There was a loss on a run play to his side, tackle for loss. So that wasn't the best to see. I feel like Farrell Brown, as a veteran, could be passing him up. It's going to be competition there for that inline blocking role. Where Julian Hill passed up Durham Smythe last year. Durham Smythe, by the way, now on the Bears, where we are. But so Farrell Brown could rise up over him, but Julian Hill, in some recent practice, I did see him make a couple of catches, get a little more active with the pass catching. So it's going back and forth there. Obviously, the penalties he's got to cut down on him. So very discouraging to see that today. But I do recall second half of last year he got better in that department. So something that he's got to just be more consistent with.
Well, Julian Hill comes from the some things don't change department. Well, how about the offensive line? I believe it's 4 false starts and 2 holdings today. Some things don't change when it comes to the offensive line. So Talk to me about the offensive line. What'd you see from the left to the right? And yeah, end with the right tackle. Who the hell is the right tackle with Austin Jackson out?
Yeah, I mean that's been Larry Borum's in a return here to Chicago, where he obviously struggled. But yeah, a lot of pressure was put onto it. So these three interceptions, there were a lot of pressures. James Daniels himself was upset with himself over some of the. He said he had multiple pressures that he allowed, and that was only him. So, but yeah, I mean even from left to the right because Patrick Paul got put on his backside on a one-on-one as well. So he had been doing so well in that department at Dolphins camp, going against Chubb, going against Chop, who had their way also today against the Bears defense. So it's not like those guys aren't doing their thing. It's Patrick Paul was legitimately having strong practices, but had a little bit of trouble today. And then you had Jonas Avainaya go down. Brewer getting better as he gets back into team reps. Obviously, he's very reliable, playing every snap at center last year, but started on the PUP and has been working his way back. So, yeah, and then Borum up and down at right tackle. But did have his moments. James Daniels did mention that him working on the side, although he had to review the film, he was more solid as he's gotten more team reps with Austin Jackson down.
And we don't know anything about Jonah, right? At all. Nobody saw anything whatsoever. Like all you guys out there, nobody was able to catch how he came off or what.
No, yeah, for me it was that he wasn't in at one point, and we were struggling to find him, and then eventually we did, and later he was over where the team was handling medical situations. So obviously they're all out of sorts with how they get set up when they visit another team's facilities. So they had sort of a makeshift area where they had to go in for that. But yeah, it's something that we'll have to find out probably until Mike speaks post game to the exhibition on Sunday afternoon.
How was Patrick Paul?
Yeah, I mean, right. He did have that. He did have that one-on-one where he went down. So got beat there after he had been so solid in that regard. And I think he was responsible for at least the pressure. And I did see it was on his side. Although I don't think it was his responsibility when I saw a tackle for loss where Julian Hill was the primary blocker responsible for it next to him.
Okay. I was having fun because Marcel Louis Jacques, who does an excellent job with you guys, he posted how Jordan Brooks wasn't a fan of this 11-day road trip, but then McDaniel explained to him that it was about team camaraderie, and I retweeted that this is a whole bunch of bullshit, and chemistry and team camaraderie is built in regular season games in the playoffs where you fail and you overcome big moments and big games like the Panthers. They built that up, not with slip and slides, bro. They built it up by losing in the playoffs, getting the number 1 seed and losing in the Stanley Cup and getting back. And that's how you build that kind of shit. And then the next day, 24 hours later, here's Jordan Brooks fighting with a teammate on the sidelines. And I'm like, yep, that's team chemistry, baby. That'll definitely, yeah. These 11 days, this is really going to grow some kind of a bond that'll help you win games in December and January. Get the hell out of here. First of all, has anybody figured out who he was fighting? And I know I heard the whole thing about, he's just trying to lead and all that crap. But what do you know? Talk to us.
Yeah, no, there were people getting in the way, separating them, so we couldn't ultimately identify who he was actually coming after. So that will remain a mystery because I don't think any Dolphins players will just willingly reveal it. But we can try to figure it out. But I mean, Jordan Brooks is a guy who speaks his mind. He's as real as it gets. So. Yeah, it is interesting that one day after, we're gonna have a great trip. There's where to the point where it gets physical between two players that have to be separated on a sideline. But shoot, I mean, I even think of like how this happens with with the Heat on a sideline when it was happening. Jimmy Butler, Udonis Haslem, Eric Spoelstra, where that stuff does happen, and it happens when people care about what's going on. Jordan Brooks is a guy who he freaking cares. Like when shit is not going the way it should be defensively, it seemed like it was between a couple of defensive drives or defensive periods, and it was on the sideline where someone did something where he was maybe missed an assignment, but Jordan Brooks felt like he needed to go and give someone an earful, and more than an earful, a little bit of physicality as well, make him feel him as well. So, I appreciate that of Jordan Brooks because that guy's as real as it gets.
Yes, I just hope it wasn't like a player that you really need and is kind of slacking, and it's just kind of that's the only thing. If it's somebody on the periphery, then whatever.
Yeah, I would narrow it down, I think, safely to a DB. I think there were a lot of DBs around. So just like process of elimination or whatever, I would feel most likely. But not 100% on that.
Okay. Zeke Biggers picked up a sack, for the big fat boys in the middle there.
Final play of practice, so that was actually the exclamation point on what was overall a good day for the defense. The offense really struggled with those turnovers and protections and pressures on Tua, the fumbles, Tua's interceptions, but defense overall stood up. Elijah Campbell had a sack as well. Bradley Chubb had one. Grayson Murphy had one. So a lot of pressure being applied. Jordan Brooks had the one interception.
Dotson, right? Tyrell Dodson also.
Tyrell Dodson got through. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Willie Gay was all over the place again today, right?
And not as much as you would, but I mean, he was already at such a high level of it when you see him flash. So,
playing against that offense, and of course, no, I get it, but now when he had to go up against another team, he maybe became the role player. I got it. He's a good player, bro, but he's a depth guy. He's a role guy. I mentioned that because people were talking about, well, should he challenge Tyrell Dodson for no, dude, no. Don't insult Tyrell Dodson. Give Tyrell Dodson his due and his respect, bro. He came in here and he played well last year. Okay, he played well, and he again today. He's one of those guys that when you're writing up and talking about some of the positives, Dodson is one of your positives. Oh, no. Don't hear you. I don't hear you. Mike. Here we go. There. It looks like you got it on now. No, Mike. Let me see. Hold on a second. Let me see if I also take you down and then add you now and see if you pop on now and see if it happens. Sorry about this because stuff like this happens. Let's see if we get him back. Oh, that's why. Oh, I see what's going on here. Okay, now we got you.
All right, let's see. You hear me?
There we go. So
okay, I had a call break me up. So
the question was Tyrell Dodson. Like I like Willie Gay. I like him as a rotational player, all that. But people were talking about, should they give him a chance to start over Tyrell Dodson? I was like, dude, give Tyrell Dodson his damn respect. He came in here and played like a man. And today, if you're writing up, you're talking about Tyrell Dodson as one of your positives.
Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the stock up players. And I mean, a guy. I feel like he solidified himself at the end of last season. He ends up leading the team in interceptions with 3. Was always around the ball. Jordan Brooks was on this like epic tackling trajectory, and then actually one of those last games, Tyrell Dodson ate into that number and was the one sort of more active bringing guys down. So, just a guy that's solid in the right spot, understands the defense. He was already somewhere similar in Seattle with what McDonald runs there compared to Weaver. Both of them had been in Baltimore, so had some experience in a similar scheme. Has played in Buffalo, so knows them in the AFC East. I feel like he's just been solid. So he's a guy that should be counted on as that starter. And Joe Barry, the Dolphins linebackers coach, sort of felt that way and stamped it when he spoke earlier this week. And Willie Gay, he has flashed so much. Sometimes you see the camp standouts, and it's not like it's always going to translate into the season. But I think Willie Gay has earned the right to get in on several snaps and rotate in, find spots either inside or on the edge because he's just got so much playmaking ability with his athleticism. But Dotson's kind of got to be your more solid when you got your 3-4 set and you have 2 inside linebackers. Let him be there on the field with Jordan Brooks.
No. Willie Gay is one of the better linebackers they've had here in the last couple of years off the bench. Okay? I think as a rotational guy, I completely agree with you. Give some guys some rest and give them a break, or somebody's a little banged up. Willie could be the perfect guy that can fill in. I completely agree with you. I just kind of, hey, let's not get crazy and think that because you see him popping in camp, Brooks and Dodson, these kind of guys, bro. No, you don't replace those kind of guys. They're fine where they're at. Let's not get crazy with that overall. All right, running backs. What did you see from the running backs overall? Talk to me, Jalen Wright. Tell me anything.
Yeah, Jalen Wright actually he sported through the left side a couple times, so that was actually a positive. Patrick Paul should have mentioned that earlier. Where Bears edge defenders seem to struggle setting the edge there, and I saw Patrick Paul lead nicely to his side. Jalen Wright was able to get through with some room off tackle there, so that was a positive. The huge negative, Alexander Madison with those fumbles after he had such a strong camp. I also saw him sort of get stuffed at or near the line of scrimmage a couple times, but putting the ball on the ground twice, plus one was on an exchange, on a handoff between him and Zach Wilson for another one. So kind of 3 times where 2 were on him, 1 was between him and Wilson. So a little bit concerning there. He had been such a camp standout, but he was definitely, along with Tua, my stock down for this joint practice.
Yeah, because one of the Chicago guys says Bears first team defense is having a really rough time stopping the run, especially to the left side multiple times. Getting to the second level with big chunk plays. So that's good to know that Paul and Jonah, I would imagine, was still in the lineup at that time. That those guys, were moving some people, overall. Who handled most of center today?
Yeah, well, I mean, Brewer would be the starting center now that he's back and working his way up. Right. And then that
was my question.
Right.
Did he do the whole practice? I'm just wondering because I want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that first team stuff. I mean, I saw him out there for first team. It didn't account for him every offensive play, and I was focused more on the defense, but guys, and we're not supposed to specify in specifics on the line, but even though Andrew Meyer has been out for some time, we do know that I can give you that Daniel Brunskill, has been snapping and has that experience, has that in him as well. But they've been a little bit depleted at center with Brewer on PUP to start. Or sorry, not on PUP. He just wasn't practicing to start. Andrew Meyer recently. And he's got weeks to go. Plus, Liam Eichenberg can be a backup center, but he's been out since the start of camp on PUP. So, kind of having to dig down into the depth chart for the training camp center snaps.
All right, well, we talked about Tua and obviously the 3 interceptions that he threw today, and we kind of explained also what was going on with those interceptions, obviously, with players. But tell me about the backups. Tell me about Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers. What stood out as we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I didn't see Quinn take much reps, so it seemed like there was a lot of 1s and 2s that were going here. So it was Zach Wilson a lot of the periods, which is the first team got their shot, second team gets their shot, and then they move on. So Zach Wilson did throw a late touchdown to Andrew Armstrong. In a red zone situational setting, so he had a little red zone drive, and it was capped with Andrew Armstrong hauling in a pass going to the right near the goal line. Now this happened right after the exchange that was botched between him and Madison. Um, I'm guessing either I didn't see the results of who picked it up, but I'm guessing they either called it that offense recovers or they were just running it back from that spot afterwards. So there was that up and down. And Zach Wilson, he's been just making some plays on the run. He didn't have a turnover today, so there was that. But showing some of the mobility, the arm talent, and just slowly getting more into the offense. Whereas early on, you saw a lot more of the interceptions, so he's cut down on that, and has also flashed some of just that arm talent and mobility and throwing on the run that we knew he had back when he was a draft prospect.
By the way, Welt Rheaume 954-966-4646, and we are in storm season. Make sure you save their number. Never call the insurance companies. They have their own adjusters. So if you have a rainstorm, wind, or God forbid, a hurricane, and they cause damage, call Welt Rheaume. Bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, 954-966-4646. We wrap it up with the quarterbacks. I expect Tua not to play on Sunday. There is no reason for him to play with no right tackle. They can actually tackle and hit, as you saw with Anthony Richardson. So this was his work. I would never play him. Next week, I get it. You're going to have your dress rehearsal, and you'll play and all that BS, and you'll play him next week, and then he'll take it off. So I assume, and I'm sure you assume the same, Tua doesn't play on Sunday. So then does that mean that Zach Wilson gets a half and Quinn Ewers gets a half?
That's how I could see it. Maybe it's like late. Well, yeah, I would give him a half because if there's a late drive at the end of the first half, I want to see Zach Wilson handle that. So I agree with you. That's how I would handle it. I don't want to see Tua in there for the reasons you mentioned. Um, yeah, you want him to get a dress rehearsal, just like a successful drive at some point in the preseason. I, you usually you do it in the home game, but that's the last one this time. So you maybe want to prefer to do that week 2 of the preseason in Detroit. So a little bit of a decision to make because you definitely don't want something to happen so close to the regular season if it were to happen that week 3 of the preseason against Jacksonville. But usually you prefer to do that at home, but maybe this year just the way the preseason schedule works out, you don't go that route.
All right. Good stuff. Do you believe that Quinn Ewers should be given more of an opportunity to compete for number 2? Because I do. But I kind of feel that Zach Wilson is Mike McDaniel's pet project that he picked in the offseason.
Yes.
And I feel that Ewers is the front office's pick.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure of any division there, which I don't think would be the case because I feel like Mike McDaniel would stamp the quarterback pick as well.
I know.
But yeah. Okay. Yeah. But no, it is interesting. I mean, Zach Wilson was clearly brought. He was the calculated first day of free agency selection as the backup quarterback. That all important decision. So that makes it as clear as day as to where they want to go. But I agree with you that he still feels like a project. As much as I brought this point up to Darrell Bevell this week and the quarterback's coach, and he said no. Now he still does have a lot of experience now, but it's just he's closer still to being that young rookie from a few years back project at this point who didn't play at all last year, by the way, backing up Bo Nix with Denver, than he is any veteran, proven, reliable backup. He's closer to the former, so that's why when we talked about so much, I wanted the veteran reliable.
I would happily argue with that and tell you my brother Daniel Jones is still a project.
Nah.
Okay. With all the years he has in the league, 4, 5, 6 years now, whatever. I think it's either the year before or after Tua or whatever it was, or the same year, whatever. So we're talking about a guy that's been in the league, has got a bunch of starts, and he still can't throw right. He still can't play the game the right way. He's still a project. You still have to mold that guy. You know what I'm saying? Geno Smith was a project for a while, dude. For a while until the light went on, and then he figured out who he was and all that shit, and now he's turned into a solid NFL starter now. You know what I'm saying? But he was a project for a shit ton of time. So Zach is a project, bro. I mean,
Yeah, Zach is a project. Yeah. Now here's where I'll disagree with you on Daniel Jones is that I think Daniel Jones we kind of already we know what he is. I feel like
yes.
it's not like project that you can still
Whoa,
mold
wait
into
a minute.
something much
No,
greater.
no, doggy, that's not fair. That's what I said, and I know that's what you said about Geno Smith until he figured it out.
Mm,
We all thought that's who Geno Smith is. It's over. That's who Sam Darnold is. It's over.
right. Yeah. Good points. Good points. Yes.
That's who Rich Gannon is
Mm,
until Oakland. But when you're a little young, but when he was bouncing around Kansas City and Minnesota for years, like 8, oh, it's Rich Gannon. You knew he could run around. You knew he had a cannon, but he had no idea where it was going and all that. And then he goes to Oakland, light goes on. So sometimes
yeah.
you are a project for a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
That's true. Like you
sometimes
said, you
you're
got to give guys more time. You do have to give some guys more time. Yeah.
sometimes you're an enigma that can't be figured out. Okay, you know the history of the Enigma machine back in the day for the bomb and all that. Well, the same thing that they had to decipher it. It's the same thing. These quarterbacks become an enigma, and each coach is trying to figure out and unlock what they think that potential is. You know, they've been doing it with Jameis Winston for years. They want to coach those interceptions out of him because they love the personality, they love the talent, but they hate the damn turnovers. So
Yeah.
when it comes to quarterbacks, you can be a project for a while, dude. You can be a project for a while until either you break through or somebody figures you out, bro. You know? So anyway, what do you got going on this Sentinel so folks can check you out?
Yeah. I got the practice report up. All the insight from what we saw at the joint session. The Tyreek Hill injury update from Mike McDaniel earlier today. It's an oblique that he is dealing with. So some clarity on that as he did a light Thursday workout over here before the joint practice. Didn't do anything against the Bears. So now he'll have a weekend
No rush. No rush.
no rush. Yeah, maybe we'll see what his status is against Detroit because we know he wants to go out there and compete. And I'll be writing about all the fight details. I'm already thinking up my lead. Like Mike McDaniel wasn't Jeff Van Gundy on the on the hugging the lower leg of Alonzo Mourning, but he got in there. He got in there to break it up. So I'm thinking I'm going to work something like that as I describe what we saw with the physicality and intensity of the practice.
All right, good stuff. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and catch his work at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, as always, thank you, my brother. We will catch up on Tuesday. Have a great weekend and safe travels, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.